Is Michael Myers about to face off against Jason Voorhees? How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champane, and once again, we have a Halloween video. Yes, I'm going to have 3 Halloween videos in 1 week. I cannot believe I'm in 2023, a year out, not even, from Halloween Ends releasing, and I have this much new Halloween stuff to talk about, and all of it sounds awesome. So I actually recorded a video yesterday about all this news we got about Paramount being the front runner on the movie side of things, and I also talked about what I would do if a TV show were to happen and it was set in the Halloween 3 universe. I also talked about some other potential ideas and directions it could go in. That's going to come out this weekend because the video is sponsored and we got more news after I'd already finished it. So today's video is all about the updates on the rights for the TV series, because it looks like at this point we are getting both a new Halloween movie, which is great, and a new Halloween TV show. So the latest update is once again coming from Bloody Disgusting, and this is about the whole rights bidding war that is currently happening. We have heard multiple times throughout the year that like there's something going on with the rights. There were multiple interviews David Gordon Green did when Halloween Ends came out where he was like, they're already talking to new people over at Trancas trying to figure out who's going to do more Halloween stuff. Blumhouse and David Gordon Green have officially closed the book at that point a year ago, so things have been in the works for a while now. But right now, the bidding war, the way it's shaking out is that Miramax and A24 are going head to head trying to get the rights for the Halloween TV series, and A24 is currently the front runner. Now this is kind of confusing because if you look at the rights for Halloween, Trancas owns like the vast majority, it looks like, but a big owner of the Halloween rights is Miramax. So for them to have to put in a bid to put up enough money to make a Halloween TV show against like an outsider, which would be A24, that's kind of like confusing to me, but it makes sense from the idea that the like majority rights holder is Malik Akkad and Trancas International Films or whatever it's called. So like he ultimately is the one deciding where this is going to go. And honestly, there's like some ups and downs here. I talked about this on Twitter. Neither of these are my first choice, right? Like I don't know what Miramax is going to do on their own. They'd probably have to bring in someone like Blumhouse or even Sci-Fi or just like some other production company to kind of create this TV show, because I don't think Miramax actually does any firsthand production stuff anymore. I think it's all just like in the background because of the whole Weinstein connection that Miramax has. Like you don't generally see that Miramax logo plastered on anything these days. And then when it comes to A24, I've talked about this a couple times. I just like, I don't know. I can't imagine what Halloween would be like through their lens outside of like not really focusing on Michael Myers as we know him, like the guy in the mask who goes around killing people. I feel like they would focus on maybe him in the mental asylum growing up like Rob Zombie did, or they would focus entirely on a new group of teens and then have Michael show up intermittently throughout the show, which like that would be bad because that was people's biggest problem with Halloween Ends, that it focused on Corey and Allison and Michael was kind of taking a back seat through the entire thing. He was like a beaten down, wounded old man. So like you could do some scary stuff with it. It's just hard to visualize how you do that with a TV show, because the biggest problem I've always had with horror TV shows is that it's really hard to stretch a plot like that out over 6 episodes. So I don't know if they're going to do a Smith's Grove sort of show where you get multiple murderers, or if they're going to focus on a young Michael and how he becomes a serial killer, or if they're going to focus on teens. I don't know. I think what we really need to see is their Friday the 13th show, because that will tell us kind of what we can expect from them when it comes to Halloween. Because if this Friday the 13th show is what it's being marketed as, which is a combination of Friday the 13th's part 1 through 3. Also, sorry my voice is raspy and I'm a little bit more low energy than usual. I've been about to get sick for like 3 days. I haven't really taken the cliff dive yet into full on flu. But like my voice is raspy and I'm really tired because I can't sleep when I'm sick. So you're not getting top energy Jimmy. Sorry about that. Anyway, if it does turn out that that show is going to be like the combination of those 3 movies and actually does feature quite a bit of Jason Voorhees, like maybe the first couple episodes run through the Pamela Voorhees killer and then we see Jason get resurrected and come back around the middle of the series, that would get me really excited for whatever they're going to do with Halloween. Because again, I want the focus in anything related to Halloween to be on Michael Myers. If you're going to focus on anyone but Michael, I think Dr. Loomis. The one character I don't need to see a new angle on or to even have involved in the franchise anymore is Laurie Strode, right? Like we have so many endings to her story. We have Halloween and Halloween Halloween 2. We have Halloween, Halloween 2, and H2O. We have Halloween, Halloween 2, H2O, and Resurrection. They redid her in Halloween 2007 and 2009. We, of course, had her come back for this last trilogy. Like, enough of the Laurie Strode timeline. We are so over that and past it at this point. We don't even have to have the family connection anymore. Like, we can have Michael Myers going after a new group of teenagers in either 1980 or in 2023. I think they could do something cool in either timeline, but just like eliminate Laurie Strode from even an idea on this, and I will be excited. Another thing I've been thinking about is like how they'll probably have to alter the look of Michael in some way, because in terms of Michael's looks, like, say what you will about Halloween 2018 Kills and Ends, I don't think you could really beat any of those masks, right? Like, the Age 2018 mask is awesome. I think the Kills mask is like absolutely perfect. There's one behind me there that, like, it's a rehaul. It looks awesome. It's just so cool with the like cut, the burns, the skull sort of look to it. I love that look for the mask. And then Halloween Ends, the like moldy sort of Kills mask that they ended up with is also cool in its own right. So if you look at that trilogy and then also include their flashback mask, which is like a slightly tweaked, meaner looking original Shatner mask, like from the original Halloween, I don't think you can really beat that mask. So the only thing they could do, especially if they're doing a contemporary take on Michael Myers, is alter his look. And I would hope that they do it in a way that makes him look visually distinct and not just like the Spencer's Gifts Hot Topic version of Michael that we got in 2007, or the hobo with the torn up mask we got in 2009. Like, modernize him, like put him in fatigues or something, like give him a new sort of origin where he maybe doesn't get it from a garage, like he doesn't have coveralls, maybe he has like tactical gear or something. I don't know. There's a million things you could do with it that aren't like competing with what we just got in the last 3 movies, but yeah, it's a TV show, so I don't know. I don't really know what we can look forward to here, but having a new production company coming from a new angle, that is exciting to me in a different way, because from a lore standpoint and from a Michael standpoint, I really have no complaints with the last trilogy. They kept him borderline supernatural. They made him pretty strong. They gave him some really good kills that are going to be hard to top. I just don't know why a TV show would ever try to one up that, right? Like, especially if we do have a new movie coming from Paramount, I don't know what the whole philosophy behind the TV show is. I've also seen a ton of people saying the only way they'll be interested is if it's like going back to the original idea for Halloween after Halloween 2, which was to make an anthology every year. I talk about this in the video that's coming out this weekend, so I won't get too deep into it, but I don't really want that. I think it's kind of a waste of the brand to make a Halloween anthology show when we have not only so many anthology TV shows, but also movies, right? Like Trick or Treat is the best Halloween anthology ever. We're getting a sequel to it from Mike Dougherty. VHS is going as strong as ever. Like, I think it has the most high profile directors ever for the VHS movie that's coming out this year. We also have Tales from Halloween. We had Channel Zero. Like, there are plenty of anthology shows, and I feel like, again, you're wasting the brand by attributing Halloween to that. And I've also seen a lot of people saying, well, if A24 is working on the show, I'd also want them working on the movie so that these can intersect. I don't think A24 is going to be able to afford the movie rights. Wolfman's Got Nards, Barry, he did a whole video on this that I watched and I thought it was really good. But his whole point was that Universal kind of screwed things up by paying $400 million for The Exorcist, right? It's because there's no return on investment history there. Like, there hasn't really been a lot of successful Exorcist stuff since the original Exorcist movie, and paying $400 million for the rights to make 3 movies is kind of insane. And the big difference between The Exorcist and Halloween is that Blumhouse's original deal with Universal and Trancas and everyone else, they only wanted to make 1 movie, right? So Universal only licensed 1 movie from the rights holders, and I'm sure that after that movie made so much money, like $250 million, they had a big bargaining chip to go back to the table and say, look, we want to make more sequels to this movie, but we want a way better deal than you offered us earlier. Like, paying $400 million upfront before you even produce anything, I don't really see what the logic is there, and the resulting fallout of that is that Halloween, with that history of making $250 million on a movie, like, there's precedent there. So if you want to buy the rights to make more movies and more sequels, you're going to be paying a lot more than $400 million, and A24 simply can't afford that, which makes sense because that's why they're going for the TV rights. And if you told me A24 was going to get the rights to a Halloween movie or TV show, I would say give them the TV show any day of the week. Like, honestly, there's not really many other TV production companies I would give the rights to, and the fact that I'm not positive what they're going to do with the Halloween TV show honestly makes me more excited, because the biggest problem with all 3 of the last Halloween movies was that you knew where all of them were going just from watching the trailer, right? Like, Michael Myers is escaping after 40 years in captivity. He's going to go back to Haddonfield. He's going to start murdering people. Laurie Strode is going to go out on the prowl and try to find him. Like, there's only so many ways that could go. And then the fact that Halloween Kills was kind of like an extended ending for Halloween 2018. Once again, like, you could have guessed the plot before you even saw the trailer. The only one where I feel like we kind of got conned into a different movie was Halloween Ends, and that's like the biggest complaint people have. I ended up liking the movie it became, but they marketed it as like the big final showdown between Laurie and Michael, and while we did get that right at the end, it was a pretty underwhelming fight, and that's not the movie that they marketed, that we ultimately got. So going into all three of those movies, I knew everything that was going to happen in them just because of the nature of what they were. Also, people tried to leak them in my DMs and my comments all the time. No one ever really did because I had already figured it out, which was great. So now when we have this TV show coming from A24 allegedly, I'm a little bit more excited just because I don't know what the hell it's going to be. The one thing I really want from a Halloween movie revival is, of course, a period piece where you have Michael Myers in the original getup. It's sort of like a retelling of the story but focusing on all new characters. I think that would be great, but that would work super well for an A24 show, and I think that's something they might do, just going off of what we know about the Friday the 13th series, which is that it's a requel, prequel, retelling sort of reboot thing where they're going over the first three movies and kind of retelling the original story. Another thing that I think could kind of determine my hype levels on an A24 style show is how many seasons they're planning on making it going in. The problem with having a horror show that's focused on one character like Michael Myers is like, you need to have an ending, right? Like, you can't have a show that's going on for 9 or 10 seasons with Michael Myers, because at some point it's like, this dude needs to stop coming around and people need to figure out how to kill him. So of course the counter to that would be to make it an anthology show. I already kind of argued against that, but if the idea going in is to just make it like a 6 or 8 episode miniseries and then that's it, and then maybe if it does well they can come back and make a whole new story, like maybe focusing on Halloween 3, that makes it immediately more interesting to me as well. I'm also super interested as to why A24 is even going for all these IP where they're going to have to work with different studios, different companies. Like, if they pick up Halloween, they still have to work with Miramax, they still have to work with Trancas, they have to work with all these merchandisers. Like, there's a lot of people pulling a lot of strings with Halloween, where it's like kind of going against the whole ethos that A24 was built on, where they give a director who has an insane vision a ton of money to make whatever movie they want cheaply, and then if it does well, they get more money to make a sequel, and if that does well, they get more money to make another movie, right? Like I said sequel, but I meant a second movie, because they're not even big on sequels, right? And that's how they've kind of like homegrown a ton of big directors like Robert Eggers and of course Ari Aster. So when you look at that whole philosophy, which was just like the most original thing ever, like make everything as original as possible, to the point where we're not even seeing sequels from A24 for the most part, I don't know what the goal is for them in going for Halloween outside of like getting a huge cash infusion so they can make bigger movies and kind of compete with Blumhouse. But I think if they can keep the quality level that they have in their movies and kind of veer away from the sort of like esoteric, deep artistry that they go for with a lot of their stuff, and just make a little bit more like standard tentpole style plots to go along with that awesome quality they usually have, that's where you immediately start getting me hooked and wanting to know more about the project. And then the final thing that I think is really going to determine what this show becomes is who they attach to it, right? Like, one person that I've seen floating around a ton that I personally would immediately be like super hyped to see on board for a Halloween TV show is David Robert Mitchell. If you don't know who he is, he's the director of It Follows. I'm super biased towards him because of course I'm from Michigan. I live in Michigan. He's from Michigan. That was filmed like literally, like the intro to that movie is filmed like down the street from where I live. So like, I'm super into that movie. I'm a huge fan of it. He knows how to make characters you care about. He knows how to build tension and dread. He knows how to make a scary monster. He knows how to feature a small town, because Grosse Pointe, Michigan is a very small town. I absolutely love it. And he did a good job bringing it to life on the big screen with that movie. So he would be awesome, in my opinion, to tackle Halloween and do it in a different way than what we've seen before. I've talked about why I don't really want Mike Flanagan doing a Halloween movie for the same reason I don't want A24 doing a Halloween movie, because I just feel like the focus would be in the wrong place. But Mike Flanagan does a really good job with horror TV shows, right? And the one show that I feel like proved he could do a Halloween TV show excellently is Midnight Mass. There's scary stuff in that. There's environmental stuff in that. He did a really good job with the location that it takes place in. He made it feel like a real lived in place. The vampire stuff was cool. The whole Exorcist sort of vibe that it had with finding that Pazuzu style statue and the actual vampire itself out in the middle of the desert, all that was awesome. He knows how to bring that stuff to life, but he's also done it more like grounded, Americanized, like Midwestern sort of feel in stuff like Dr. Sleep. So I think he would absolutely nail a Halloween TV series, and it would have to end up on Prime because they have like a first look deal with him now that he's not making stuff for Netflix anymore. But if A24 does get the rights, they can just go work with him at Prime because that's what they're doing with Camp Crystal Lake. They're having it on Peacock. And that kind of brings us to the last thing I wanted to talk about in this video, which is, could Halloween and Friday the 13th cross over? If they get someone cool to write and direct this show and it ends up on Peacock, there's like no reason not to have someone just say, hey, there's some crazy stuff with Michael Myers going on in Haddonfield, right? Like the timelines wouldn't necessarily work out because Camp Crystal Lake, I think, is going to take place around the same time as the original movie did, which is before the 1980s. But once Jason is a full-on grown-up, I'm pretty sure that series moves into the 80s, so you could have that Michael Myers crossover, which I think would be really cool. Like getting to see Jason fight Freddy was awesome because they're both technically immortal, but like we don't know what Michael Myers is, so seeing him face off with Jason could also be extremely cool because you can get on Freddy's good side. He uses Jason and then they kind of team up at the end. Michael Myers can't even like comprehend teaming up with anyone. He's not a person. He's just going to kill anything in front of him. So that would actually be a versus movie that I think could be pretty cool. But yeah, I'm pretty sure A24 is going to end up getting these rights. That's where things seem to be going. Look forward to my video about Paramount with the movies because I talk a lot more about where that could go in that video, and I'm super excited for everyone to check it out. And then real quick here, one of the posters I used in my last Nightmare on Elm Street video was for Dream Warriors. I just Google for B-roll, like, you know, whatever movie I'm talking about, and that one came up, and I just thought it was so cool that I wanted to use it. And he reached out to me and let me know that not only did he make that poster, but he also watches the channel and is a fan. So I thought it'd be cool if I showed off some of his Halloween art here, and he also is selling prints of some of his posters, like one for Scream that I'm absolutely going to buy over on his website. So it's linked down in the description. I just wanted to show that off because I think it's so cool when people who watch the channel and make awesome stuff like that Nightmare on Elm Street 3 poster actually reach out and let me know that they think the channel's cool and that they like that I put their art in a video. Anyway, guys, that's all I've got for you today. Make sure you let me know what you think down in the comments below. Remember to subscribe and set your notifications to all if you haven't already. As always, my name is Jimmy Champane. I'll see you in the next one. Happy Halloween and shape on. I need a nap.